symptoms, you lose the label, whatever. You're not as you would have been had you never had it.
And autism affects each individual uniquely. That's interesting. It's like a snowflake thing.
Yep.
No two are alike.
Yep.
So that probably complicates things.
Yep.
I would say that complicates things more than anything, because you don't.
Especially at the school level when you've got a class full of 8 kids and they all have different needs, different strengths, different weaknesses that they all have to address.
Wow.
And at the medical level. So you go into your pediatrician and you're like, well, this kid has, you know, severe food allergies, this kid doesn't, this kid has immune system dysfunction, this kid doesn't, and our kids are really medically complex.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you really want to know how common autism has become, okay, autism now is more common, okay, than, you ready for this? It's more common than Down syndrome, mental retardation, and cystic fibrosis combined.
Yeah.
Well, that's huge. You know, to Dan's point there, I also read that in terms of funding for research, you know, clinical support to investigate causes and, you know, cures, so to speak, really, you know, the funding is far less beyond all of those things he just mentioned, despite having the most significant prevalence in our society.
Yep.
That's quite a number. It's quite something to be reckoned with when you realize how many people are affected. And you mentioned schools as well.
Schools are drowning.
Yeah.
Schools are drowning, and I feel bad for the schools because they're just overwhelmed, understaffed.
Right.
They don't have the expertise. I mean, this epidemic has really only been going on for the last, what, 2 decades, if that. But in the last decade, it's
last
just
10 years, it's exploded.
It's just exploded. So schools, they just can't keep up.
Right. Now, again, in the fact sheet here, there is no direct cause. Any speculations?
That's a $64,000
Yeah,
question.
I mean,
Absolutely.
really, why all of a sudden is this really taking hold, and it's an epidemic?
It is, and I think you have to also look at other things that are kind of going along with it, like the rise in asthma, autoimmune problems, food allergies. It's not a disease of the brain. It is a disease of the body that affects the brain.
Right.
So I think you're seeing a lot of kids with, you know, immunocompromised kids that have all these allergies and, you know, other autoimmune disorders. MS is on the rise. I mean, there's all this stuff in children, even cancer. So you have to look at, we can't have a genetic epidemic. You can't do it. We don't change fast enough to do that.
Right.
So there's got to be something that is affecting these kids. Maybe they're predisposed, I can't talk right now, to, you know, have this, but there's some kind of environmental trigger. And that's really the consensus of almost all the researchers, is some kind of genetic trigger. I mean, environmental trigger, thank you. But what that is
Nobody knows.
This week it's old dads, this week it's
Fat
obese
moms.
moms, this week it's living near a highway, this week it's, you know, I mean, it's all these.
I was going to say, if you have your ear or face turned towards the television, you really can't turn it on without hearing something autism related. You know, hopefully it's, you know, positive endeavors, and when you have your Autism Action Month, we'll change it to that. But certainly it's, what are those triggers? And I mean, it's some heated discussion. You have people adamant that it's one thing and we need to stop it or start it right away. And then there's equal people on the other side, and medical professionals are divided as well. And it is almost that our hands are all kind of thrown up, but it sounds like the discussion at least is moving it forward.
Well, and I think it comes back to that snowflake. Every kid is different, so what triggered it in Jordan may not have triggered it in Ryan.
Right.
It's so individual.
And they're wonderful children, and I know we're gonna try to get let the people see some photos. I'm sure we.
That's right.
I'm sure we can accommodate a couple of photos and get them on the screen. Jack is very good at that.
Big shout out.
Yeah,
Right.
and they may or may not be here. We're not telling, so but you're gonna get to see some great pictures. What is the most common misconception about autism? If you had to pick one, what would it be?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That if you don't talk, you must be mentally retarded.
Okay.
Yeah. That they're not smart.
That they're not intelligent. They have low
Okay.
IQs, because that's not at all the case. My son is a smart kid, just couldn't get it out because he couldn't communicate. It's getting in there. It's just that expressive language.
Right.
isn't working.
Okay, I had read that one of the most common misconceptions is that people think everybody with autism is like Dustin Hoffman in
Oh,
Rain
yeah.
Man.
Yes, yeah, they expect them to have
Yeah.
some,
Some savant
yes,
quality.
yes, that's the word I
Yeah.
was looking
Yeah,
for.
Right.
no, that
Yeah,
doesn't.
That was.
I don't think
that
that's
was
any.
No,
any
that's
more
a very
prevalent.
rare,
amazing mathematical skills and can move the pyramids and all that.
that's a very
Yeah.
small percentage of them.
Yeah.
But that brings up a point though in terms of in our culture. In looking at it, television is reflecting a little bit more in terms of what families are looking like, and we're seeing mainstream characters
Yep.
in television. And so I wrote a few down. I was just trying to pay attention and see. My favorite show, one of a few on television, is Parenthood.
I love that show
And
too.
I don't say it because we're sitting here tonight. I really do
Yeah.
enjoy the whole show.
Yes.
But after everything but the
They've
kitchen
done a good
sink.
job with
Wow.
that,
They
I
have.
think.
She
They've done a
watches
good job.
wrestling.
No, not wrestling.
Oh, no,
not
I watched
wrestling.
that. Never mind.
That's you, Dan. But Parenthood, great show.
Yes.
But one of the main things that I think set it off was the Max Braverman character,
Absolutely.
which is
Yep.
like the preteen son. And the first 3 episodes, I think, dealt with them coming to
Getting
terms,
diagnosed.
getting diagnosed. Brilliantly done.
Yes.
But at least we were able to see it. And again, I don't have a child that's affected, but I thought it was a fairly accurate depiction all the way around the horn in terms of what they dealt with, the reaction by a parent. What do you think about it? There's some other characters that are probably a little more offbeat, but you mentioned Charlie Babbitt from The Rain Man, and but Sheldon Cooper,
Yes.
they kind of
Big Bang
claim
Theory,
him
yes.
on The Big Bang Theory,
Yeah.
but he's a brilliant guy.
He's definitely Aspie, no doubt about it.
Yeah,
But
so, but there's a whole lot, but I just think that we're seeing that, so that's a good thing. What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on things like that? Is it accurate? What do you
I think so. I think they've done a good job. The episode that hit me the hardest with that was when he ran off. Did you see that one where he hopped on the bus to go to the museum and they couldn't find him for hours? And we've been through that.
Yeah, we've
and
been through that.
Yours disappeared for a while, and mine's
Yeah.
done that too a couple times. You can't find them. It's terrifying. So that was the episode I think that
They've done a really good job.
they've
on
done
that
it.
show.
They did a
Yes.
really good job.
And again, a little
So-
bit telling, right? That there's others, and something off of that touches you that it's difficult, and
Well,
you're not alone.
I think what Parenthood does really well is shows the dynamic within the family too, as
Yeah,
to how
the
they all
stress.
react to, the mother's trying to, cover everything, not cover everything up, try to make everything all better all the time, which is what we do. You're trying to fix everything all the time, and you can't. And the father, sometimes the fathers get withdrawn. There's that whole family dynamic that goes on, the grandparent that doesn't want anything to do with him versus the grandparent that says, he just needs a good spanking.
Yep.
They've done a really good job.
And the issues with the sibling,
Yeah, the sibling
the stress
stuff
on the
is big.
sibling. Yep.
So
What do you
they've done-
recommend on something like that? Bringing up the siblings and the grandparents, but beyond the initial, my son or daughter has autism. What do you recommend, or some of your personal experiences on how you shared that or asked?
My mother diagnosed my son. I had never heard of autism.
Really?
She smart woman, but just knew kids. Didn't, not a smarty pants, not a Harvard, graduate or anything. But just, she said to me, I think it's autism. And I said, what the heck is that? I had no idea.
Okay, what's
And,
that?
but my adult brother was injured at birth with brain trauma, birth trauma, and so she had to go through that whole kind of special ed system, the whole, physicians and the doctors and that. So she I think she knew from being in that world that something wasn't right. So she was extremely supportive, and my family was great. My family, as soon as I kind of shook it off and put my nose to the grindstone, my family just fell right behind me and did whatever I wanted to. So I was lucky. I was really lucky.
And I have a question now. What is it like when you have one child, one autistic child, and say one that's not?
That's what I have, yeah.
Yeah. How does that? I'm sure there's benefits to this.
In the beginning, it was, all about my son with autism, because it
Yeah.
had to be. I was actually pregnant with my younger son when we got the diagnosis, so
Oh,
they're
wow.
they're a couple years apart, 3 years apart.
I bet you that put a lump in your throat.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah.
Pregnant and hormones, it was really fun.
Sure.
I can't relate, but yeah.
Yeah, well, take my word for it.
Yeah.
Take my husband's word for it. But, so it was nice only that we had the baby to focus on a little bit to kind of take, some of the negative stuff off. And then as my younger one developed, they get to a point, and I just saw how easy it was for my little guy to meet, you know, milestones. And then when they got to like the same place developmentally, they would play together, and then my younger son shot past my older son developmentally, and that was really, really hard to watch. It's heartbreaking.
What are some of the words that you would give to perhaps someone that inquires about a child with autism, and they say, why is, and I offer this, I'll start with myself because I do, we talked a little off camera, have a brother. So growing up with that, you know, he had Asperger's and he's on the autism spectrum. And a lot of times I'd get the question, and this is very candid from my own experience, is, you know, what's going on with your brother? Or why won't he play with us? And those are hard questions when you're a little older, a little younger. What do you offer? I mean, I remember the feeling, but you share maybe a little bit if somebody just asks.
I haven't had too many experiences with people asking, you know, what's going on with her. People pretty much figure out pretty quick that something, that something's just not right with her. I haven't had the experience of someone coming up to me at the grocery store and saying, you know, I don't know if that's happened to you, but I know a lot of parents of autistic kids who, you know, they got the kid at the grocery store, the kid's having a tantrum, and somebody comes up to them and chastises the parent for having a bad child. And
no clue what's going on, and they make comment.
Right, if you're at the grocery store and you see a child having a problem like that, don't jump in and say something, just, you know, because that child could be having a meltdown and having autism, and you know, the parent doesn't need that. You know, try to help out,
right,
if you can.
Sure. And speaking of help, what are the best like websites and things to go to if you're looking for, you know, real solid information that you can, you know, sit down and print and digest and understand and spend some time with, so you know, you want to learn more? What would be some of the best? Would it be, you know, there's all kinds of websites.
There's a ton of websites out there.
What's your favorite ones?
I like TACA.
Yeah.
That's a huge website.
Now, what is that?
TACA stands for Talk About Curing Autism.
Right, and that would be www.tacanow.org.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I knew that one.
That's a massive website.
Yeah.
You'll
Lots
be
of
there for days.
information.
Yep.
It's
Oh,
a
wow.
good group.
The National Autism Association, of course.
Yes.
That's a great website.
The Autism Society.
And then it's www.autism-society.org.
Right.
And is there anything local, like Massachusetts, not necessarily Mansfield, North Attleboro?
Well, TACA has a Massachusetts chapter, and I run the Massachusetts chapter of TACA too. So we have meetings locally, not in Mansfield, but sorry.
Why not?
They're in Rentham. They're easy to get to. I go.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, you know,
We got free space, so we
That's
took
right.
it.
last time I checked, Mansfield has open borders policy.
That's true. Coming and going. We're welcome. Welcome
Yeah.
to come in. How about other resources, or where you find that are places that in terms of integration, whether you want to play some sports or get in an activity? Where have you found
You
just
can talk about that.
A local organization that we do a lot with is Community Autism Resources. And they're based, are they in Swansea now?
I think they're in Seekonk.
Seekonk, okay.
But they're
Begins
regional.
with an S.
They're
Somewhere-
regional.
They've moved
Okay.
around a couple
Yeah.
times. They cover basically Bristol County and southeastern Mass. And they have all kinds of education for parents. They have libraries. Parents can take out books and videos. And they also arrange a lot of family activities, which has been great for us. They arrange special movie showings. They'll rent out a movie theater early on a Saturday or Sunday morning. And they keep the sound down, they keep the lights up, and you got a theater full of autistic kids and their families. Nobody cares if the kid's having a tantrum or screaming. The kids get to go out and see the movie, the parents get out, and they keep the sensory level low so the kids can enjoy the movies. And they've had all kinds of, they had a trip to the Harlem Globetrotters in Providence a couple weeks ago. They used their fundraising money to buy the tickets. So the families don't have to pay anything to go to these events.
Wow.
They have a walk every year in September, I think it is, down in Fall River, which we did last year, and the kids had a great time. And it's their main fundraiser for the year, and they use that money to help families all the local families. So they're the best local resource.
Oh,
Great.
there's help out there, there's resources out there, there's people to talk to out there, there's medical help, spiritual help, right? Everything is available. You got to dig for it. You got to search for what's right for you.
Right. The best
Okay.
resource is other parents.
Right.
Okay, so and then this
So the Talcum in Massachusetts group
Yeah.
is really
Yeah.
great.
and then they would hook
Reach
you
out to
up